So, I wanted to talk real quick. This is my lunch. Don't judge me, y'all. I took my lunch really super late. And it's funny because it kind of has to do with what I'm talking about today. I made a status the other day talking about boundaries, and I wanted to go live last week, but y'all know my life. So, I wanted to talk about boundaries real quick because we have boundaries everywhere in life, or we should. In romantic relationships, in friendships, in families, even at your job. You have boundaries. And it was like two different things I wanted to talk about. And anytime I'm talking, it's never me coming as like an authority on a subject. It's just stuff that like God kind of reveals to me, and I want to open the dialogue because I think a lot of things we don't talk about. Um, and since 2019, 2020, I've like been doing this whole transparency thing. So anything that's like revealed to me, not everything, but some of the stuff that's revealed to me that I feel like needs to be an open dialogue in our community. And when I say our community, sometimes I'm talking about the Christian community, and sometimes I'm talking about the people of color, that community, and sometimes I'm talking about like some intersectionality going on. But with boundaries, it's really funny because the status I posted was make sure that you adhere to the boundaries that you set in place for other people, whether they adhere to them or not. And the part of that I want to talk about is, ideally people are like, well, of course, if someone adheres to your boundaries, then that's, a good thing. That's easy, right? And sometimes it's not, which is such a funny thing to think about. And what made me think about this is there was a guy friend of mine that I know, and I saw him out and about. We happened to be at the same place, and this was last week. And this guy, I know that he's attracted to me, but he also knows that I am on I want to say the right word. I'm not celibate, I'm abstinent. An abstinence journey. And he also knows that, like, I ain't on what he be on. I ain't on all of that. And it was so funny because when he saw me, he hit me with like a side hug, like a church hug, and it caught me off guard because I was like prepared for that not to be how he came at me. Because I've been in numerous situations where men have showed me that they believe they have a right to my body, regardless of whatever boundaries I've put in place verbally or non-verbally, and that's something else too. Boundaries, yes, it makes it very clear, cut and dry when it's verbal, but sometimes boundaries are non-verbal. Like if someone comes in for a hug and you hit them with one of them or hit them with the handshake, that's someone showing you their boundary. And I think a lot of times people, especially women, our boundaries aren't respected. And that's something I want to talk about, is that don't think, oh, well, they didn't say this, that, and the other. Like, people will show you their boundaries even if they don't use it with their words. But it was so funny. And it wasn't that I had a desire for this man to disrespect me or anything, but it caught me so off guard. And it was like I was kind of like waiting, like I was waiting for the shoe to drop. I was waiting for him like to act in a way that is the norm, to act in a way that like I've kind of grown accustomed to people acting towards me, if that makes sense. And it made me, as I was reflecting, I'm like, that's so horrible. Like, people have disrespected boundaries so much, whereas it's like someone respecting boundaries is so foreign. And I thought about it, and that's where you hear, and people are, whether it's like relationships or hookups or different things, where people are so used to having their boundaries disrespected that when someone respects it, they buck against it. They don't know how to act. Because now gladly, like when I kind of recognize, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, oh, boundaries respected. This is cool. I like this. I can deal with this. But I kind of realized and thought about, not everyone knows how to handle the boundaries being respected when their norm is for them always to be disrespected. So that was just something I kind of thought about and wanted to talk about. What are your boundaries? How do you put boundaries in place, whether it's in your friendships, in your work environment, romantically, people you're considering dating. And also, what's funny is someone was kind of helping me realize about boundaries at work. I made a status earlier. I'm temping. Anytime I work a job, I'm usually taking a temp job, and I have a standards of excellence. So it's like when stuff isn't done, I will maybe stay behind sometimes to get them done. But I realized, I'm like, oh, I'm allowing them, like, people would ask me, kind of to stay or help finish things, and I'm like, ooh, I'm not respecting my boundary, and they're not gonna respect my boundary because I'm not respecting my boundary. My boundary is that I'm supposed to be off at 5 o'clock, right? So if I'm here at 6, Brandy, you're not respecting your boundaries, and if you're not respecting them or upholding them, right, then other people aren't gonna respect them. So that's what I wanted to talk about on my little lunch minute. I love y'all. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. If not, that's okay. Well, it was really funny. I like caught myself. I was laughing at myself. I kind of forgot a little bit that my pic was in there, but you know, we kind of here now. I'm loving my aesthetic today. It's kind of cute. But I love y'all.